Previously on Funny Science Fiction.
What's so funny is the broken foot was the least of my problems in
Hi, I'm Taylor Gray, and you're listening to the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
The podcast that makes you realize why Soylent Green was set in the year 2022. Beware of those Impossible Burger mystery meats, kids. All right, so our guest today has played basketball with Kevin Durant, even took his ball playing skills from him. He's been a Padawan, and he was developing his Jedi skills before being lost in a hyperspace jump with Grand Admiral Thrawn. We are, of course, talking about Taylor Gray, the voice of Ezra Bridger from Star Wars Rebels. Welcome to the show, Taylor. We're very glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been pretty stoked about this all week. We've been kind of messaging each other back and forth and what we could talk about, you know, all that kind of stuff. But before we get to anything even remotely Star Wars related, I want to talk to you about your movie Thunderstruck, where you play Brian, a guy who has embarrassingly poor layup skills and unable to make a single layup to save his soul, couldn't make it happen until you steal Kevin Durant's ball playing skills. And I have to think that the Oklahoma City Thunder thought that this was a realistic possibility, and that's why they didn't, they decided to part ways with him. That's a whole nother topic, though. I am curious, though. Were you a basketball player going into that movie? Did you play ball, or did you have to learn some skills in order to make the movie a little bit more realistic and believable for what you were doing on court?
I did play basketball, and it's funny. I was on so backtracking a little bit, I played all growing up and through high school, and my dad was my coach when I was younger, and I was on our varsity team, and I had to leave high school my junior year for this Nickelodeon show that I did. And so I missed my senior year of varsity basketball, which is a real bummer. Anyone knows that's the best year of all of it, of what you're looking forward to. And so when I got Thunderstruck, my dad always tells me, he's like, that is a pretty cool substitute for your senior year. I got to play basketball for two and a half months with one of the best basketball players in the NBA. And so it was really fun. But I played before. In the audition process, we read just the sides for the first maybe 3 or 4 auditions. And then when it came down to the last bit, the testing process of it, I think there were 2 people up for my role, 2 people up for another role on the team. And the director was like, okay, now it was at Warner Brothers, because they were the production company behind it. They were like, now we're going to go play on the lot. We've seen you guys all act. Now we want to see the last couple people actually play basketball. And it was cool because when we walked over, there's actually a basketball court on the Warner Brothers lot out here in LA that they told us, and I believe this is true, I haven't ever fact checked this, that George Clooney requested it, I believe, when he did Batman.
Oh,
that's cool.
Would that check out? I mean,
yeah.
That's what they had said, and he would play all the time. So they have a basketball court there. It's nice, but it's an outdoor court, and we played 2-on-2, and it was really funny because it was like we were actually just playing basketball for the gig. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And I think up until then, acting is a very sort of creative, subjective craft, right? But once it got down to playing basketball for the role, I was like, okay, now it's time to switch gears and really turn it on. So it was fun to play in front of the producers and directors and everything.
That's cool. So so basically it was like a gladiator duel for the role. Right?
I wish there were some more cases like that. It'd be funny if reading for Rocky or the Creed movies, they actually have to slug it out.
All right,
really
last
good.
man standing gets the role. Okay, there we go.
Exactly. You'd see another side of these people.
I believe that.
So speaking of sports, I understand that you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan. And if Tim's hat isn't giving it away, we're Red Wings fans. We're from Michigan. It's your home team. It's just what happens. But I understand that you may have had a little bit of an issue with Dave Filoni over your choice of teams when you first met him. So how did that go?
That is true. I usually, I pride myself on trying to do as much research as possible, because when you're creating a character or auditioning, especially, it's such a daunting task. There are thousands of people reading for every role, and you have to set yourself apart, but also do your due diligence. And so this is something that I overlooked, which is kind of funny, but I didn't look into the let's say sports allegiances of the producers, including Dave, and I didn't realize how big of a Penguins fan he is.
Mhm.
And anyone knows they share in the state another hockey team. And when I first auditioned for Rebels, I just sent in a tape. And then I think like a month later, they had called in a handful of us to like meet in the booth at Disney Studios and go through that process. And I remember I was like an hour late to this callback for it. And I remember calling my mom and I was like, I don't think I should go in. Like, I don't want to embarrass myself. I'm an hour late. I was sweating. I was shooting something else that morning. And I like had a hat on backwards. I remember my mom was like, just go have fun, do it. And the hat that I was wearing was actually a Philadelphia Flyers hat, which is hilarious because it's not like I even have a real affinity for the Flyers. My aunt and uncle live out in Philly, and they had like gotten me this hat, so I was just wearing it on the off chance. And it was funny because Dave, we brought that up later, but I made it up to him because once we started filming the first season, I got myself a Pittsburgh Penguins t-shirt and I would wear it with my Philadelphia Flyers hat to recording sessions, which really he didn't enjoy too much, but he appreciated that I had something on there with the pens. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
The sport allegiances can be
It's
quite a tricky little thing.
It's tricky territory for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, before all this, I did not realize that Dave was a Penguins fan. And if I ever get a chance to meet Dave and talk with Dave, that'll be a sticking point for me. But we'll get around it, I'm sure.
While you wear
he's-
all of your Red Wings things.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. I mean, I have my Red Wings jersey over there. I've got my Red Wings softball jersey behind me, signed by Darren McCarty. Yeah, so that's gonna be a thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, he is a very big, I believe all Pittsburgh sports, but
Okay.
a very, very big Penguins fan.
Excellent. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
excellent that he likes hockey, not so much the Penguins, but I'll get around
Right.
that. I'm working around
Actually
it, Dave.
I went to a hockey game last night, actually.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
where'd you go?
It was the LA Kings and the Nashville Predators.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Who won?
4-2 Preds.
Nice.
I would
So
actually
we all-
prefer the Kings to win because
Yeah. Preds.
we could talk hockey for a long time because I have certain issues with the Predators. Goes back to the early 2000s playoffs runs where the Red Wings and Predators would meet a lot in the playoffs. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic, and I'm taking this off.
As long
Fair
as
enough.
it's not the Avalanche, it's all good.
That's a whole
Right.
nother topic.
That's a whole other topic. As I've got my Red Wings snow globe there and my Darren McCarty stuff here. Yeah, no.
I'll shut up about hockey now. Nick, you were saying something?
Wasn't it? What were we talking sci-fi?
Supposed to be.
So we all have something in our lives that drives us or inspires us, or maybe even some words of wisdom. What is like a piece or a word of wisdom that has touched you and helped you to aspire?
Oh, I really like that question. I think it's curiosity. That's something that I go back to often, and kind of drives a lot of the things that I do, and my outlook on life is sort of an endless curiosity of seeking out more or seeking out things that are different or things that I've yet to experience. And so I tried to maintain that. And I think innately I have that a bit. And I say yes to as many situations as possible, just to see how things are that are not necessarily in my purview. And so I try to lead with that. And by doing so, it just opens you up to a lot of amazing opportunities and people and things that you wouldn't normally see or be exposed to. But at the same time, sometimes you get in some hairy situations and you're like, oh, I guess I could have been a little more discerning here. But yeah, I would lead with curiosity, I guess.
I like that a lot.
I do too. That's a good answer. I think sometimes we're not curious enough about the things in the world around us and allowing ourselves to be open to, new experiences and new things. And so I like that answer. Very well done. All right. So getting into a little bit of the Star Wars realm of things. If we think about your character Ezra, years after the show has ended, and it's gone off the air, Ezra remains to be a very popular character. The show remains to be very popular, and now with the resurgence of Ahsoka and the Mandalorian, and her getting her own show, it's made a lot of other folks go back and start to pay attention to Rebels, Kathleen, where they should have paid attention to it in the first place. Coming through. Exactly. I was wondering, have you ever thought about, could Rebels have another season to kind of tie up loose ends, kind of like Clone Wars did, and introduce, something else, like, because the Bad Batch was birthed off that season. And personally, obviously I have no pull in the Star Wars world, but I tend to think that there's an audience for that to go back and kind of recreate that.
I guess the answer would be yes. There's always a possibility, right, of something like that. But I think with Rebels in particular, that is, I think it's nice to leave people wanting more, you know what I mean, rather than doing the opposite and milking something for maybe a little bit more than it's worth and losing a little bit of the integrity. Because going into the show, Dave was very set on, and it was because of what happened with Clone Wars, why they finished that out. He still had some story yet to tell, and he wanted to finish the arc that he had begun. Whereas with Rebels, that show could have continued on, but Dave had said from the beginning that what we did is what we had always planned to do. So even early on, we all kind of knew what the game plan was. And while we didn't know the exact arc, it ended where he had envisioned it ending. And I think it added to the show because he was able to do everything the way he sort of wanted to and wasn't called off too early. And so it really tells an amazing tale, and it leaves all the characters in really interesting places where it makes sense that people I see through social media and whatnot are curious and eager for more. And I think that's probably the best way to have it. But I mean, they're all such great storytellers, everyone who works for Lucasfilm, that I'm sure if they needed to spin a yarn, they could do so again.
Yeah, because as you said, where everybody's kind of left off, there's definitely a possibility where there's openness for extended stories there. Somewhere else, you could go off and you could tell different things about it. And I see both sides of the argument, leaving it alone and appreciating it for what it is. And certainly I do appreciate it for what it is. And it is a very well told story. And I have to admit, to this day, I think that's the only, I think, outside of Lion King, that's ever made me cry animated show. Wept like a friggin' baby.
You're in the majority with that. The amount of times I hear that, and like that through that last season, it's wrenching. It's really,
yeah.
I was so impressed with it as well. And the sound design and the score just adds to it so much more. And we followed these characters for so long. And that was something that I really loved about the show, is while some people in a cursory sense could just look at it as, oh, it's this animated show that isn't going to necessarily go too deep, the characters were really, really strong, and their connection was very in depth.
Oh yeah. I think too, just looking back over it, and I think a lot of people are realizing now, again, looking back at the series and looking back at Clone Wars, because of through the eye of the Mandalorian and things, is that they go, oh wow, this Filoni guy, he tells a pretty good story, and he and Favreau, they're doing really good work over here. So what else have they done? And they're like, oh, well, there's these animated series. And I think a lot of people have gone back and realized the strength of Dave's storytelling through those shows. And you even see it if you go back and see his work on Avatar, that there was strong storytelling and character building, back on those shows as well. There was no secret why George Lucas wanted him to come and work, so
he's a masterful storyteller. And being fortunate enough to have worked with a handful of different writers and directors, Dave just there's something about him that stands out. He's he's so well versed and almost encyclopedic with a lot of not just film and TV, but mythology, and he knows like the tropes that a lot of people often fall into, and he steers clear of it, while also I think one of his best qualities is that he's both a fan and a creator. So he gives people what they want. I think it's Hemingway who has this quote where it's like, in the end, you have to give people what they want, but surprise them while doing it. You know what I mean? Because we are conditioned for stories to root on certain characters and to want a certain conflict to happen. And he's good about touching upon those, but in very innovative, original ways, and putting his sort of spin on it, which makes it so much cooler than a lot of things that are out there, I think.
So we recently, with our episode 66, spoke with Sam Witwer, who we all know that you know, since his role
Who is that guy?
Maul, right? His role as Maul was pretty impressive and remarkably charismatic. So if you think that if there was an alternative dark side ending for Rebels, like there are with so many of the Star Wars video games, what do you think a Sith version of Ezra would have been like?
We began to see glimpses of it right at the beginning of season 3, and I remember when they put out the trailer for, I don't know if I think we were at a convention when they did, or maybe a Star Wars celebration. I can't remember exactly what it was, but when it had come out and they had put together, like when I remember he's using the Force with the walker, and he like walks it off the edge of something, and he's leaning into the power that comes with the emotion of the negative emotion, like going to the dark side. And we see by the end of the series how formidable of a Jedi Ezra has become. And so if you swung that just the opposite way and it was on the dark side, I mean, he would have been capable of so much. And also who he encountered as well, there's definitely some pairings there. Him and Maul could have done some damage. Also, just with how the show ends, there could be a huge connection there, right? And I think if he did follow that side, I don't know, it could have been pretty brutal for a lot of people, I guess.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
The
you
dark
mentioned
side version is always going to be an interesting spin on a character.
Yeah, because I think it's
sure.
I think it's the end of Force Unleashed, the original Force Unleashed. There's an alternate Sith Luke level that you can play where you're able to, I think he's back on, I want to say he's back on Hoth, and you can just go absolutely wild with Luke as a Sith. And on the one hand, it's like, wow, that's kind of neat. And on the other hand, it's like, I kind of liked Luke as the good guy, where he wasn't just slicing and dicing everybody just because he could, you know.
Yeah.
That's got to be such a weird moment too, of seeing somebody that we've all come to love and admire, and then seeing them as their evil twin version. Like,
well, it's kind of like pro wrestling, right? You know, where you have had the, Hulk Hogan turned heel after how many years when he went to the WCW. He was in the WWF for all those years as, oh, come on, brother. And then it was, I hate you, brother. And, whatever. But that was a really bad impression, by the way.
That was.
We have it on record now. That was great.
That was classically horrible. And Hulk Hogan, I apologize.
I had that moment, though, with Falcon Winter Soldier. Was that? Anyway, with US Agent, when he's got Cap's shield, and I'm like, but it's not. But like, you look at him with I should love you because you look like Captain America, but there's a lot of blood on that shield, and I'm very uncomfortable now. Like, it's a weird disconnect.
Still love the meme of Captain America from Wish. That's my
Yes.
favorite thing.
I've not seen that.
Way to go, Kathleen. All right.
No, was it me or was it Tim? Who knows?
So Taylor, we all have something that we hold dear to our hearts. And is there like a hidden gem of something in your career that is a little less known to people?
Is there anything in my career that is a little less known to people?
Well, it's like, less known, but it still holds a special place in your heart?
Like as in a project that I've worked on?
Yeah, a project or I guess anything really.
Um, yeah, that's another interesting, incisive question. I hold a lot of experiences close to my heart that like it's funny because a lot of people, myself included, gauge things based on the success of what a project might be, right? And I think early on I did that. Oh, did I think I did that early on a bit. Um, but then I realized, oh, even if a project doesn't necessarily succeed or go on to do however Rebels 90 episodes or however
Mhm.
many it was, doesn't take away from what that project was. And so there's certain things earlier on where like I worked in that Nickelodeon sitcom for a while, and it was so fun to do, and I look back very fondly now, and I think when it had first gotten canceled there was an idea of like, oh, it didn't pan out, we didn't do as many episodes as we had initially thought, but it was something that was really really nice to have gone through and experienced. And I mean, another thing just personally for me is balancing both a career and like a life that we're all leading, and I think a lot of people sometimes don't divorce the two, and their identity is sort of um I don't know, part of their occupation, you know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
as an actor that can easily happen, but I've really tried to divorce myself from that and go and like take trips and hang out with friends and sometimes put whatever's going on in life before a job. And it's it's a funny place to be, to like say no to a gig, but every now and then that's the healthiest thing that you have to do. And so I think that's something that I always try to focus on as well. And I think you're seeing it more and more with people realizing that just like overall good and positive mental health is so vital, because that's all we have at the end of the day as well. And I'm glad that there's this new sort of that's becoming more and more prominent, and people are speaking about it more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I actually host another show called Focused on Forward, where one of the things that we talk about is the positivities of mental health and reaching out and for things that encourage positive mental health. And so it's really nice to hear you say that, because I think a lot of people struggle with the work-life balance and finding ways to continue moving forward in their lives that are meaningful and happy. But to bounce off your point there, over the last year and a half or so, I think that's one of the things that people have really started to realize is that, that work-life balance has got to find a place, and you've got to find a way to be happy with your life outside of your work. And you can't just be, Taylor the actor or Tim the sign maker or whatever. It has to be something, more and beyond that.
100%. And that's really cool that you have that other podcast, and it is becoming more, people are becoming more comfortable speaking about it, and just anybody bringing that up and raising awareness for it helps other people. I mean, when you hear certain people talk about these things, like I think about sports often, and when I was young I looked up to so many of these athletes, and to see a lot of them speaking on this, I think that helps a lot of kids as well. And you realize like you can be vulnerable about these things, and you can speak on them, and that doesn't take away from who you are or anything, because everyone's going through different things and you never know what someone's going through. And I think we really are making strides to a better place with that. And that's really cool that you have that podcast.
Yeah, thanks. And I agree with you 100%. The more we talk about it, the lower the wall of that stigma goes, and
Mhm.
it's easier for people to climb over and say, hey, they're dealing with it, and I heard what they said, and that applies to me, and now I'm able to talk about it. So anything we
Exactly.
can do with that is awesome. Absolutely awesome. So we talked about Filoni just a few moments ago and his work on Avatar, and my daughter is actually she's 15. She's a huge Avatar fan. Friggin' loves that show. And as we were sitting down watching a couple episodes, I used that as a gateway drug to get her to start watching Rebels. I'm like, hey, you liked that? Filoni was in that. He does Rebels. So I did use that, and I thought that she would identify a little bit with Sabine's character,
Mhm.
and ended up. I think she feels like she identifies more with Hera. I don't know how that worked, but yeah. So that's where we're at right now. But I told you all that so I could ask you this. What aspects of the show Rebels did you find personally appealing? And is there something about the show that you think appeals to the teenage audience?
Um, First off, I just have to commend you. I love that in the same sentence you used my daughter and gateway drug with Star Wars. That power to you.
I
And
try
Avatar.
every once in a while,
Yeah. But it's funny. There's something about this show. I didn't know going in what necessarily. I hadn't seen everything that Star Wars had put out, but I had definitely seen the first film and the first few films, and something about those early films that I loved so much when I was younger even was the banter between the character when they're all just in the ship and you're like, it doesn't matter what they're doing, this is going to work because the dynamic between Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie, I mean, droids as well, but it works. Like there's something that you connect with that's very human about it, because like that's my favorite thing with a lot of these stories. And Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar, something I love so much about it is there are very humanistic things in this far off world, right? And we can draw those parallels very easily. And Star Wars does that so well, where like, yes, they are aliens and otherworldly creatures, but what is actually going on is a real parallel to what we're all going through. And so when I felt it in our first session when we were all together, because we did these like character shorts, these like vignettes that they put out first, and we did those solo, and it was really fun to do. And those were the first recording sessions. But then once we were recording the first episode, and we were all together, and there's that whole chase at the beginning of Ezra not trusting these people, and finally he kind of meets up with them, and then he's on the Ghost with them, and to see the banter begin, I was like, oh, this is going to work. Like there's something here that everyone, their character is well written, and what every actor was bringing to it took it to another level where you could feel what it was going to be. And some of my favorite episodes through the show, while there are amazing action sequences and the stakes are very high, are just some of the interpersonal connections that are going on that are really clever and really funny. And you know where everyone's coming from, and there's this backstory behind it. And I really love how they could kind of jab with each other and how it worked, because and not to comment on any other of the Star Wars films, but that's something that I love about Star Wars that isn't in every film. And when they do it well, the films work for me. And when they lack that, I feel it. You know what I mean? And so
Understood.
It's something that I think Rebels, again, being an anime show, I think sometimes it's overlooked, but that is one of its greatest qualities to me, is how the characters work with each other. And like I would sometimes, like, because we would watch certain episodes back at like the Disney screening room, if it was like a vital episode in the season, or if it was like the premiere or finale, and I would find myself just like laughing at certain things that I was like, oh, this, like, it just works. The rhythm of it and the music of it is really cool. So that was a very long-winded answer at basically the dynamic of the characters.
We love long-winded answers. That was great. Don't worry about it.
Cool.
That's good. It's kind of funny because as you're giving your answer, it reminded me of something else my daughter said to me, because you were talking about the interactions. So one of the things that she loves it too is the interactions between the characters on the show. In particular, I think when the first couple episodes we were watching, as Ezra's getting used to being on the Ghost with everybody and around everybody, she looks at me and she goes, "How old is he?" I said, "Well, he's a teenager in the show." And she says, "Oh, that makes a lot more sense, because you and well, I say you, but your character Ezra, we're going back and forth with Zeb, and Ezra and Zeb were going back and forth about something, and Sabine kind of like rolls her eyes and walks away, and she's like, "Yeah, I identify with all that." She goes, "That's like high school right there, those two."
That's it though. And that's what makes it so great is that dynamic. It's familiar. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
while they're in the outer reaches of the galaxy, they're on a spaceship, they're talking to creatures. It's that you can go, oh, that's high school. You know what I mean? And that's something that I think the best series and the best shows and the best plays, all of it, do that. You take these things and you, without being too abstract, you make it a metaphor for what we're all going through, and I think that's really cool, and I think Rebels does a good job of that.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So we know that Star Wars has a lot of merchandising. It's built a lot of its empire on merchandising.
All of that.
And I mean, Star Wars itself changed how merchandising was done. I mean, you've got so many Star Wars action figures from the original movies and onward, and how that's affected merchandising for future films. And there's an action figure for every background alien. There's Grogu Christmas decorations. So have you found any obscure Ezra merchandise?
Yes, this is a fantastic question.
Oh, yay.
It's funny because I never know how to talk about this, and I obviously would never bring this up, but so Lucasfilm is great about sending all of the merch to you. And so it was definitely cool when the show had first come out, and like maybe my mom or a friend or something was at like a Target and they sent a picture like, hey, Ezra, we see it here. And I always thought that was fun. And Lucasfilm had sent everything from like the early blasters that Ezra had, or saber blaster, right? And I remember my roommate at the time, I was living with a buddy here in LA, and he was like, dude, can you please just get rid of those things? Because I would shoot the little blaster things, and they would just be under couches and everything. And they sent all of everything, and it was cool to get. I think they eventually did it's called Black Series, right?
Yes.
And so like for them to do that with the Rebels characters, there's some really, really cool things. And like, I thought they had covered all of it. And then also going to conventions and whatnot, fans make stuff, you know what I mean? And, and can make some are so talented and make some incredible pieces of merch, really. But the funniest one is I have a local, it's almost like a bodega, corner store where I'll get like maybe snacks or like drinks, whatever it might be. And I think a buddy and I were going, it was before we were going over to someone's house or something, and we were going to grab some drinks to bring. And in one of the like standing fridges, there were these, how do I describe it? They were like a juice box sort of, or not a box, but like a plastic juice thing. And they had like different heads on them, like a Barney head, right? And then the little thing that like, I don't know.
With like the little nozzles.
Yes, the little nozzle, right?
I think my daughter had one with like Sky from Paw Patrol or something.
Exactly. So they had a handful of those, and it's just the most obscure spot in the world. It's not a chain, like a Walmart or a Target or something like that. It's just a little corner store that's right up street from my place. And my buddy was like, this isn't your character, is it? And I walk over, and sure enough, there is, because they have like lines of different ones. They have Ezra, like no other Star Wars characters in this thing. And I was like, this can't be real. And I took a picture. So we bought a couple of them, took a picture, sent it to Lucasfilm. And I was like, I think you guys forgot to send me these ones. And they were like, we didn't even know that they made those. And it became a very fun, it became a very funny thing at this party. Like obviously a drink with your head on it. There were enough jokes there that it was absolutely ridiculous, but it was so funny to see this thing. And I kept one of them because I was like, this is insane. But I guess we didn't get all of the like apple juice or whatever was in there out, because there's like a little mold in the bottom. So I think I eventually tossed it, but that was for sure the strangest thing that I saw.
You have made it big when you've made it to a juice box.
It's hilarious.
That's kind of cool too, because like you said, it was just a random street corner.
Exactly.
Like as you're describing them, I'm like, no, I know those things. They sell them at like
I used to buy them for my kids all the time. Yeah.
Actually,
all these different characters. Yeah, that's what I know.
I think I just threw away both of the ones that my daughter had because they were moldy and gross.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that yet.
She'll find out.
Oh, yeah. It'll come back to bite me eventually.
Oh yeah.
So our Facebook group has over 190,000 members in it, and it is just filled with memes of this and this mixed with this and tons of memes. So what two characters that you have played would you like to see come together to either be nemesis or to rule the universe together?
Whoa. That's so two characters. Like I would bring them together and make them one sort. I mean, Ezra obviously has to be in there just because of what he's capable of is unreal. And I haven't played another. I did do one other thing that was like a sorcerer type character. It was only a one-off thing, and he was like a sorcerer, but nowhere near as capable, I guess I would say, as Ezra. So for sure Ezra. And now I'm just thinking about funny things, like mixing him with my character from Thunderstruck. He just becomes like the greatest basketball player ever. And that's pretty funny in my head. But looking at characters, I've played like a weird range of like a lot of characters with different sort of mental hangups, meaning like bipolar, or I mean, I played a character on the Nickelodeon show. He was like just a ridiculous like surfer. So it's also funny to think about mixing him with this character Bucket that I played, and he just becomes an incredible surfer, and he has no aspirations aside from like eating tacos and hanging out. So there is something funny and almost like poetic about a person who's as capable as Ezra, a Jedi who just kind of like sits on the beach and doesn't use any of his powers.
Well, he just uses the powers to like create the waves that he can just go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
now,
that might be a fun one.
And now all I can imagine is Ezra as like dad body Thor,
Exactly.
All right, Taylor, we have reached the part in our show where we like to play a little quiz with our guests. So,
oh boy, I like a quiz.
All right, good. Well, I hope you like this one. It's 5 questions. All questions are multiple choice, so we'll help you out a little bit there. Now, throughout this little quiz, if you get 3 of the 5 questions correct, we do want to send you one of these I gave to the Red Shirt Widows and Orphan Fund coffee mugs. So just like that one there.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then if you get 4 questions correct, we'll send you the coffee mug along with the book that started off our group on Facebook, which is called Custodians of the Cosmos, written by our page founder and group founder, Drayton Allen.
Thank you for not asking if I have the other book, because
also Nick's dad. Anyway, but so in that story, it's a story about a young man who wanted to join something like Starfleet, but not like Starfleet for legal and litigious reasons. Definitely not Starfleet, and couldn't hack it. He washed out, so he rejoined as a custodian to boldly clean up after those who had boldly just went. So we'll send you both the book and the coffee mug if you get 4 right. However, where there's fun, there must also be consequences. We like to call it a fun sequence. If you get less than 3 questions correct, we want to take a picture of you, make a meme out of you, and put it into our Facebook group. Are you okay with that?
Oh no. Yeah, I'm okay. I have a question before we go into this. How well did Sam Witwer do?
5 for 5.
Okay. Are they Star Wars questions?
Possibly.
Oh no, I'm gonna be a meme.
Well, if you are a meme, I don't know if this will help you at all, but you're in good company. Our very first meme recipient, well, it was Frank, but our second recipient was Dan Povenmire from Phineas and Ferb.
Okay. Well, I will give it my best shot. Let's see what happens.
Not to intimidate you, but Sam was answering the questions before we finished answering them.
See, that's what I was gonna say. Like, if it's Star Wars trivia, Sam is gonna get 100 out of 100. Like, he knows everything about Star Wars.
He might know more about Star Wars than George Lucas does.
The thing is,
seriously,
I thought I tried to throw a little bit harder questions at Sam. I was like, I'll make these a little harder.
They were hard questions, Kathleen.
They were, but it didn't matter with him.
No, they were harder questions, but it didn't matter. Sam was like, go away.
Oh,
go
no,
away, kid, you bother me.
During sessions, him and Dave like talking about certain things. I was like, I don't even know anything that we're talking about right now. And
Well,
it was
mean,
hilarious. But Freddie also is pretty good. He knows a handful as well.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Tim, you didn't mention that it is Ezra Epperty.
I was getting there. I had
Oh,
just hadn't
okay.
got to that point yet.
Oh,
okay.
that helps. Okay, that helps a little.
So these are all Star Wars Rebels based questions. Most of them
okay,
are
cool.
based about your character, or loosely based.
Although
about
this could
your
honestly expose me even more.
it's a 50-50 chance. Let's see what we
if
do.
you completely fail it, we will still make a meme of you, but we will erase this part of the episode.
No,
Okay.
Maybe.
I was trying to be nice.
Let's hope.
Again, it's confusing.
Let's hope there are some easier questions as well. But I'm game for it. I guess I will say this, hopefully not prematurely, but go easy on me on the meme.
All right, go ahead, Nick.
Rex Wolf.
Hey, just kidding. Sorry.
Rex, Wolf, and Gregor are hunting Jupas. Jupas?
Jupas.
Okay. Jupas. What does Gregor call them? Does he call them A, big bongos, B, bagos, or C, big gongs?
Oh my gosh. It was on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is this one compared to the rest of the questions?
I'll tell you.
This is
I
one of the
think
harder
it's-
ones.
the answer.
I think it's wait, sorry, I think it's A or B. What were the options again?
A, big bongos, or B, bagos.
I think it's big bongos.
That would be correct.
A? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Okay. Okay.
Well, that's one of the harder questions because that was very specific about one episode, one particular scene. So
Yeah.
ask
And
that.
Dave didn't always send all. I actually through all the middle bit, he sent us the full scripts. But like sometimes, because with D, since he played all of the characters, he would record by himself sometimes because we all recorded together. But I remember I just remember him saying big bongos. That's funny.
There you go.
Cool.
All right. Question number 2. Ezra has easier if I say the question correctly. Ezra has how many scars on his left cheek? A, 5, B, 3, or C, 2?
C, 2.
Correct.
Correct.
2 for 2.
Hey. To be honest, I didn't know if I would get 2, so we're keeping it moving.
Ezra and what other character are the only 2 to show up in every episode? Is it A, Ezra and Kanan, Ezra and Sabine, or Ezra and Chopper?
I think it's Chopper, although it's weird because it should be Sabine, but I weirdly think it's Chopper. I'm gonna go C, Chopper.
You are correct.
It is Chopper. He's in 2 more episodes than Sabine,
Yeah.
like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And I only know that number because I looked it all up. But that gets you the coffee mug, sir. You are out of meme land and fully into coffee mug land.
All right.
Okay.
Question number 4. Who was not a Fulcrum agent? A, Ahsoka, B, Callus, or C, Lando?
Ooh, you got me here. Wait, Ahsoka was though, I think. C, Lando.
That is correct.
Jolly good. So
Which I
that's the
only know
coffee
because
mug
there's-
and the book. There you go.
I only know that because Tim told me that was the right
Whoa.
answer.
Okay. Dang.
And this question is for fun. Who is Spectre 3? Is it Kanan
Oh
Chopper.
no.
or Sabine?
Oh no. Okay.
But Sam
Spectre
will
1.
beat you.
Spectre 1 and Spectre 2. Okay, hang on. Spectre 1. I guess it comes down to would they have had Chopper first? Because it's not Sabine and it's not. Oh wait, wait, do you say the options were Kanan, Sabine, and Chopper.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay, so I know it started with Vanette with Hera, I believe. And then I guess the question is, I think she might have had Chopper before as like a partner before Kanan, and therefore it would make Kanan Spectre 3. But in my head, weirdly, I hear Freddie saying Spectre 2. Spectre 3 to go. Spectre 3 to go. Maybe. Oh, I'm gonna go Kanan.
It was Chopper.
No. Okay, fair enough.
Hey, 4 out of 5, very respectable.
So that means Hera. Yeah, because I remember he said
Hera's 1,
Spectre 2,
Kanan's 2,
Chopper, Zeb, Sabine,
and then you.
Yeah, Spectre 6. Dang. Yeah, that one was hard because I mean we obviously would all say so many. You'd be like Spectres, so many different ones, and I was just trying to think back to the origins of it. If she had met Kanan before Chopper, that's a good question. Nice.
Ooh, yeah, 4 for 5. Well done, sir.
Hey, that's still good.
I'll take it. Honestly, guys, I was expecting 0 or 1. I thought you might throw me a bone. So
you did great.
Set your bar low, and you will only be happy. There's a lesson here.
Taylor, thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go to find out more about you and what you're doing now?
I am on social media at Taylor Gray 3 on Instagram, and I'm Taylor Gray on Twitter. And yeah, I try to post and keep up with things as they come out and as I'm working on things. But yeah, I'm just there trying to enjoy.
All right. Well, we will link your socials in our video description so that our viewers and our listeners can find you.
Wonderful.
In the least creepy way possible. That sentence kind of got
Sure.
away from me.
Thank you guys so much. It was really fun.
I want to remind everybody that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to ensure that we get more amazing guests like Taylor Gray here and have these great moments and funny moments for you guys to be able to listen to. So please subscribe. It's that little button down there. Hit it just once. That's all you need. And it helps us more than we can ever really tell you. And we want to make sure that you guys go check out Taylor's work as well. However, if you aren't happy with the content of our show today, please feel free to lodge a complaint with the head of our complaint department. That's, of course, Hera Syndulla, the mother of the Ghost and the Spectre crew. Sure, Ezra and Zeb are going to push her buttons, but you can be sure that the offending party or parties will be treated with kindness and civility, unless, of course, Chopper accidentally mixes up the paperwork again. And then it's anyone's game, except for Kevin Durant's, because Brian already space jammed him.
Well done. That's great.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Taylor.
It's been a lot of fun, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really great. You guys are all awesome. So it was an enjoyable time. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's our show, guys.
Goodbye.
Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you'll give Red Shirt crewman number 66. He'll know that when he puts on the red shirt and joins Kanan and Ezra in helping the rebels, that he didn't leave his family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has his back and what's left of Chopper.
And speaking of sponsors and show partners, check out this short video from our good friends over at Level Up Lightsabers. Information about Level Up Lightsabers and their online training sessions can be found in the episode description below.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of Funny Science Fiction, we'd like to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on one of our future episodes, please contact us by means of our Facebook group, Funny Science Fiction. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FunnySci-Fi, or you can go to DraytonAllen.com and click the Contact Me link at the bottom of the page. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the episode.